Hello, and welcome to Pisces Moon Astrology. I'm your astrologer, Kait Leonard, and I'm excited to explore the stars with you. Hi, everyone. Welcome to part 2 of the partial lunar eclipse in Pisces. That is happening on August 27th. And for those of you who like the specifics, it's going to be exact at around 9:20, and that's Pacific time. So adjust for your time zone. But anyway, it will be felt more the week leading up to it, generally. I'm not saying some people aren't going to just get blasted on that day, but mostly we feel it the week leading up to it. So let's get into all of this. First, I just want to thank you all so much. If you didn't listen to part 1, please go back and listen to part 1 because I gave some details about the auto accident I was in right before the solar eclipse. It actually happened on Lionsgate Portal 88. And it was a 3-car collision. It was pretty bad. I mean, there are certainly worse. It wasn't, there are certainly worse. I was lucky. My dog was in the car with me. It was very traumatic. I'm still dealing with the trauma that's left over from that. But anyway, as I said, I'm not going to go back into all of that. I think I will do another episode on it at some point because it was such an eclipse story. I want to tell you, for those of you who listened already, I said that the community, the people who came out, the crowd of, quote, onlookers or whatever, they saved my dog. They stepped up. They took care of me. They owed me nothing. They were all strangers. It was a big, big deal. It was a big, big deal. And the gratitude that I feel is something that I can't all the way go into yet because I get so emotional. But I have to say that since then, I have been confronted with yet another group of angels in my life, and that's some of you out there. The podcast the last one from a couple of days ago, had barely been up, like a couple of hours, and I started getting texts and emails. And it was just people, wishing me well and offering help and support, and it just started immediately after the post went live, and the emails and texts and phone calls have been coming in ever since. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you. I had already received this beautiful message about how truly kind and loving people are, most, not the scumbag who hit me, but you know what I mean, most people. And then right on the heels of that, I got this outpouring of love and support from all of you. And I just want you to know, it seems like that kind of thing that podcasters and YouTubers and everybody say all the time. But you guys matter to me. You really matter to me. I just don't even know what to say. I'm just truly grateful. And I just wanted to lead with that and say thank you. Thank you for all the support. I'm just forever grateful. All right. Okay, now I know you don't want to go into a whole lot of la-di-da about all of this, so I'm going to move on because otherwise I'll start crying again, and nobody needs that. All right, so we are talking about the partial lunar eclipse in Pisces. If you didn't listen to episode number 1, please do. But I do want to remind everyone, this, even though it's a partial eclipse, this is very, very important. Lunar eclipses are already full moons. So we think of culmination, completion, right? Getting ready to move on when we think of full moons. And this is the final full moon in Pisces. So it's the end of a series as well. So it's like a double whammy of closure, bringing things to culmination, endings, those kinds of things. But it's a North Node eclipse, and the North Node is about moving forward and expansion and growth and all of that. So it's a very interesting story about letting go, completing something, finishing something, so that you can move on. The North Node has already, in fact, moved on into Aquarius. And Aquarius is about bringing things out to the public, right? For the good of the people, moving the world forward, making the world a better place. That's what Aquarius is about. Doing something forward thinking to move us all, not the individual, but to move us all to the next step in our collective evolution. Does that make sense? I hope so. I'm not going to go back into all of it, but I wanted to remind you of that. Now, let me tell you just very quickly a couple of aspect patterns that I've noticed that are happening during this time. And I'm going to try not to get too technical, but you've probably heard the term T-square. It's a combination of an opposition and two squares that make a triangle. So 3 planets, intense aspect. What are the planets I'm looking at first? The sun and moon. Of course, every full moon is an opposition. So we're supposed to be somehow finding balance between our inner and outer worlds, right? But they are forming the T-square with Uranus. You know I love Uranus, but in a T-square, boy, howdy, kaboom, right? So Uranus is the rebel, the break out of the chains that bind you. Think outside of the box, right? So as you're getting ready to move on, we're going to be asked in probably some very unexpected, unusual, maybe startling kinds of ways, because that's how Uranus rolls. You're going to be asked, we're all going to be asked to resolve something by breaking the bonds, breaking the chains, breaking out of some box that maybe we've gotten really comfortable in. That's what I think is going on here. That's what I think is going on. And this could be for some of us breaking out of some thought pattern, belief pattern. You know, I stay at this job because I believe so strongly in security. Or I had made a commitment to myself to be self-employed. So even though we're dying financially, I will not go back to a day job for a while, right? It doesn't matter which side of the fence you're kind of falling on. You know, I stay in this relationship because I made a commitment, or I won't make a commitment. It doesn't matter which kind of thinking you've fallen into. There's going to be something that requires you to bust out of that thought pattern, out of that thinking box. Why do I say that? Because Mercury is smack with the sun, which is part of the T-square, which is part of the eclipse. Mercury is with the sun, so it's also opposing the moon, our inner reality, our intuition, what we need to feel comfortable. That's also the moon. Mercury's in Virgo with the sun. Mercury rules Virgo, so he's very strong. And the south node is with the sun and Mercury. So what are we letting go of? Some kind of weird thought pattern, right? Some kind of way that we've been thinking about whatever it is. And I'm going to get into the sign by sign. So hopefully that'll help you. But Uranus is going to like blast that stuff apart. Okay. Now, the other thing that I'm seeing is a really loose T-square. I'm not as worried about this one, but Mars is loosely squaring Venus And Venus is opposing Saturn, and Saturn is squaring Mars. I'm expecting some breakups. I am. That can be breaking up with a boss, breaking up with a lover, breaking up with some deal you've made with yourself, right? But with Mars, Venus, and Saturn, Saturn is about get serious. Venus has something to do with relationships, and Mars is the separator. You get what I'm saying here? I think you do. So get ready for, this is a time of endings. It's a time of culmination, and I think it's going to be very powerful. But I want you to keep in mind that it's so we can move forward and really do good in the world. All right, let's get into the sign by sign. All right, Aries, this is in your 12th house. That's the unconscious, that's solitude, that's the unseen parts of life, okay? This is where you're being asked to integrate your sense of individuality. That's that sun in Virgo thing, right? And your interconnectedness with others. That's the Pisces moon. And it's about really integrating and grounding in that understanding that we're something bigger than this question of me as part of spirit, me as the very human individual. It's about integrating all of that so that you can move past it, so that that question is no longer the question, right? So that you finally resolve your sense of being an individual and being part of the collective, so that now you can move into that Aquarius space of doing in the collective. All right, so it's time to resolve. And yours is fairly esoteric because the 12th house is really about inner workings, right? Working on your psychology, working on your psychology, basically, okay? So that you can not be fearful of losing yourself when you make community and doing good for the whole and acting in service to the whole. You won't have this fear that but I'll lose myself, right? You need to resolve all that, bring all of that to closure. Taurus, yours is really interesting because the moon is the eclipse. The moon is happening in your 11th house of community. This is your tribe. This is other people. This is group identity. And so for you, it's the same thing that I'm going to talk about for all the signs. It has to do with resolving. For you, it's on the 5th, 11th axis. That's creativity opposed to community or group identity. And it's about bringing those together. How do I maintain my own free-spirited, creative life while being a part of a group and a group member, right? Why? So that you can move that into 10th house and become more public about it. This may be that something that you've just been doing with your friends as a hobby, something that you've been doing in your art or creativity. You now see that you want to take it out. You may make a job out of it, 10th house, or you may just get more outside of your own little group, your own social group, into the more community effort. You've been doing certain kinds of causes or whatever with your friends, and now you're going to go take it out and do it for an organization maybe, or something like that. Make it more formal. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. But don't forget that you're still bringing with you this balance between your own creativity, your group identity, which can sometimes be in contrast, right? In groups, we're expected to conform in some ways. Fifth house says, no, I'm a creative spirit, right? It's saying, like, let's bring that together. Now let's take it on the road. All right? Makes sense? All right. For Gemini, this is happening in your 10th house of career. So all I can say about this, Gemini, is get ready for massive changes. This is going to be about integrating and bringing some kind of closure to an opposition you've had between home and family, or a sense of foundation, but think of it as home and family, and career. What you may be finding is, for some of you, because Mercury, Sun, South node of letting go is down in the home and family sector, right? You may have been feeling guilty about needing to go back to work, or wanting to go back to work. The moon is in your 10th house, right? That's what makes you comfortable and secure. And you may be like, but I can't because I need to take care of the family, and I'm a mom or a dad, and I've got all these family responsibilities, and it's time to get over that limited thinking. Remember, Uranus is involved, and it's in your first house. So it's about changing your identity so that you can finally go, wait a minute, I can be a great mom, dad, whatever, and still have a great career. North Node for you is moving into the 9th house of foreign culture, foreign travel, higher education, publication, all of those kinds of things. So you may be going back to school to retrain for something. You may be like, oh yeah, I am going to still be super parent, but I'm also going to have this great career that I've always wanted, or that I need, or whatever your thing is. But to do that, I need to go back and get my certificate, degree, whatever, in, subject X, so that I'm more prepared and ready, right? Got it? Love it. All right, Cancer, this is happening in your 9th house of foreign travel and culture, higher education, spirituality. So this is really about moving beyond the I need to expand. The thing that the 9th house has in common that unites, and I never talk about this because the 9th house seems to be like all over the place, right? Spirituality, foreign travel, higher education. It's like, what the heck brings all those together, right? It's a sense of expansion. That's what it is. And this is time to start considering that you're big enough, you're enough, you know enough, you're spiritual enough. You don't need to be traveling all the time. You've done that, or whatever, right? It's time to integrate all of that, because you are moving into the 8th house of joint finances and healing trauma and all of that. This is an interesting one. So this may be like focusing more on financial stability for you, for your family, whatever, and deciding that, like I said, you don't need to go on another world tour, or you don't need yet another degree or whatever. You've got what you need. Now is the time to build the financial security. Why? So that you can do good with it. First for yourself, for your family, for all of that, but for the world. Consider that one. That's a trippy one, huh? Okay, for Leo. Leo, this eclipse is happening in your 8th house of joint finances. So that means anything like investments, partner money, inheritance, debt, all of that kind of stuff, right? It is time to really get serious, get integrated about how you're handling your money. The North Node is going over into your one-on-one relationships. So for you, this is really going to be about integrating or getting truly grounded in your finances, getting really beyond any kind of feelings of insecurity and all of that, really breaking out of the thinking that everything's about money and putting your energy north node into seventh house matters, which is one-on-one relationships. So for you, it's not going to be so much like, how do I go out and change the whole world? It's going to be, how do I stop worrying about the whole financial sector of my universe and really see the wealth in one-on-one personal connections? Could that be time for falling in love, renewing commitment, all of that stuff? Certainly could be, but it's not necessarily only that. Okay, for Virgo, this is happening in your seventh house of relationships. Now, I have to tell you, this is a biggie, right? This is like this focus on me in my one-on-one relationship. This is the most important thing. This is the whole focus of my life. Yeah, it's time to get over that, right? It's time to either get out of the relationship that isn't serving you, that needs to just be done and over with, or break out of the thinking you have about that relationship or relationships in general, that they are like the be-all and end-all that make you happy. North Node is moving into your sixth house of physical health and day-to-day work. It's time to focus on doing the nuts and bolts things in the day-to-day that make it possible for you to contribute to the world, right? Whatever that means. I don't know what that means, but hopefully you'll know what that means. Also, putting attention into your own physical health, taking it out of like, oh, I just need to be in love and everything's great. Yeah, how about take care of you and your physical body? Pisces always has us thinking all, the ocean of spirit. It's time for you to get grounded in your spiritual body and grounded in your day-to-day activities. So this is going to be a karmic kick in the pants in that direction. Libra, this is happening in your sixth house of day-to-day work activities, day-to-day routines, and physical health, physical fitness, all of that kind of thing. So it is time to just get your day-to-day structured, integrate all of that, whatever you've been doing to grow as far as healthier and, to really gut your physical routine down and all of that as far as diet and exercise and all of that. Get it grounded. And now it is time to get creative. The North Node is moved into your fifth house. That's what you're moving toward. How are you going to contribute to the world? You may be contributing babies because it's children, right? So your contribution to the world is you may be birthing the next Einstein or something. But I think for more of you, it is going to be your creative effort, your creative energy. It may be your literal art or just your creatively inspired ideas, but this is all about getting more creative. And yeah, the world is a better place if we live more creatively, right? That's my opinion. So you figure that one out as it applies to you, but that's what I think. Scorpio, this is happening in your fifth house of children, leisure activities, sex, and art, creativity. So it's time to actually integrate whatever lessons you've been getting over the past 18 months or so in one of those areas. It's time to break out of the box. Now, for a lot of you, because the moon is mothers and all of that. Yeah. For a lot of you who have been feeling like all effort is going into the kids, to having kids, to will I have kids, those kinds of questions. But it can also be this quest for fun, quest for, I want life to be, a giant Ferris wheel. I may be doing that through my art. I may be doing that through just wanting to go play all the time. Whatever it is, it's time to let go of childish ways, as they say, and move into the fourth house of groundedness, of your foundation, and really work on creating stability for yourself. It is from that stability that you'll be able to find your way to how you're going to contribute to the world as we move forward. Does that make sense? So it doesn't mean you never get to have fun again or have sex again or make art again. It just means that's not where the giant magnifying glass is. It's time to start thinking about your solid foundation. All right, Sagittarius. This is happening in your fourth house of home and family, and I just want to tell you right now, expect career changes and changes at home. That's what this is going to be about for you. We've got maybe in this case, letting go a little bit of some of the career goals that you've had because the Sun, Mercury, South Node cluster is in your 10th house. The moon is in your fourth. So really getting your balance, right? Figuring it out. You've been questioning it, you've been exploring it, whatever. It's now time, and you might be letting go of something professionally in favor of more home and family kind of thing, but it's going to be something about integrating that balance between the two because you are moving into your third house of local community. So I am wondering how many of you are going to be changing jobs so that you can do nonprofit work in your own community, local government, school board, whatever kind of local community contribution. That's the kind of thing we're looking at for you. But also writing and any kind of communication could also be there. And certainly you can contribute to the world by writing whatever it is you've got to say. What's your message? What have you learned during this time between career, home, conflict, trying to find the balance? What do you have to say, right? Some of you may decide that you want to leave career and go into teaching as well. Just saying. That's an option. And that certainly would make the world better if we could get people educated. Yeah? Okay, Capricorn. The lunar eclipse is happening in your third house of local community. Could also be siblings for some of you. And this is really about integrating and grounding the balance between prioritizing self, and what we owe to others or what we need to do for others, right? It's really a focus for you on that third house of local community, right? And it's sort of like, well, my community, my siblings, whatever it is, takes so much that I'm afraid of losing myself. And you may have had a tendency to sort of hide in travel, or I can't do more because I'm getting my degree or whatever in that ninth house space. But this is about, let's bring it all together and recognize that you can still be yourself and take time for yourself, but also show up for your community. Okay, that's what it's been about. You're going to be moving into the second house of self-worth. It's about your net worth, really. Second house is really possessions, money, all of that kind of stuff. So this is going to be really like, how do you spend your money? Is it only on those trips that you've been doing to try to get away because it's like, oh, I have so many responsibilities? Is it that? Because this is going to be asking you to really look at that. And how do you use your money in a way that, of course, is good for you? Nobody's asking you to go live in poverty, but how do you also use your money to help support the community, help support the world. Maybe you can't always be there to be a member of the board, in your local community, whatever it is, but maybe you could contribute a donation, right? Maybe there's a way to find balance that way. Okay? Open up your mind to different ways of doing it because we have that Mercury involved, right? Think outside the box. All right, Aquarius, this is happening in your second house of money and possessions, right? Second house in ancient astrology is net worth, pure and simple. Modern astrologers bring in self-worth, but honestly, that just ain't right because that would fall into the first house, which is yourself. Okay, so Aquarius, this is about letting go of this focus on money. Right? You've been, grappling with the our money, my money, investments. That's that 8th house where the South Node and all of that stuff is happening. How do I make enough money, get out of debt, whatever it is. It is time to let go of all of that. The North Node is going into your first house, Aquarius. Well, it's actually already there. This is about let go of the money stuff, y'all. I mean, I'm not saying, again, I am not saying go live in poverty, but this is about how are you true to you? You know how you can be of the most service in the world? It's by being your authentic self, by being true to you, by finding meaning in what you bring to the table. The money thing is the money thing, right? And nobody's saying it's not important. Hey, y'all, I get it about money. I grew up poor. I understand. But no matter what, it's not everything. And Aquarius, for you especially, I think this is going to be a period of time, and I think this eclipse is going to kick it off, where it's like, you be true to you, you find that personal fulfillment, and that's how you contribute. That's where it's going to, you've done the work in money. Trust that. All right, Pisces, this is happening in you. This is your first house, right? This is all about letting go of some old identity that doesn't serve you. That's it. And if you've been living for your primary relationship, looking for one, making one work, whatever it is, my relationship is all, I'm defined by my relationship. You need to get over that. And this Uranus is going to make sure you do, okay? Because remember, the 7th house for you is where the South Node is. Forget it. Moving on. Doesn't mean you can't have a relationship. It just means that you need to balance the me-we. You are part of that axis, and it's time to really change your thinking on this sense of of the me-we dichotomy, however that's been showing up for you. The North Node is in your 12th house of solitude, working behind the scenes and working through mental health, accessing subconscious information. You may do that spiritually or whatever, shamanic work, or I don't know, you microdose if you want to, whatever the thing is, right? But getting in there and really, doing the inner work because you've just gone through some major jolting stuff with the eclipses hitting in your first house. So everyone, that's it. I hope that helps. It's a really complicated eclipse. There's no way I can go into all of the details of it. Book a reading. I would love to talk to you all. I would love to help you sort through some of what's coming up for you, and that's what readings are really, really good for. So please, all my contact information is in the show notes, but you can get all my pricing and all of that at PiscesMoonAstrology.com. Okay? So I would love to see you all. I would love to talk to you. I am grateful for all of you. You will just never, ever know. And until next week or the next episode, I'm not sure when that's going to be, go out and seize the energies of the stars. This is my wish for you always. And I wish you a gentle eclipse. All right, bye.